Ladies and gentlemen, this is Joe's Classic Video Games back with another cool pinball repair video for you this evening. We have been working on this excellent Williams Space Odyssey pinball machine, and we've got it up and running, but it ain't running right. It's not quite ready yet, so we're going to keep working on it today. We haven't done anything in the back box yet, so that's next up. So we did a video where we looked, over everything, and we did the playfield. Then we did a video where we fixed everything in the mechanism board down in the bottom of the cabinet, worked on all of that for a little bit. And then we did a video where we worked on the bottom of the playfield and finally got the thing where it would start a game and play a little bit. But it has an issue now where it doesn't count the balls right. It just keeps playing the first ball over and over again. The chimes still don't work and several things like that. So we're up to that point. Now the back box we haven't done anything in, and there is a ball count unit back there, I believe. That will probably have something to do with why it's stuck on ball number one. So I'm going to slide it out from the wall a little bit. Let's look in the back of it again and see if that ball count unit, see what kind of shape it's in. All right, so there's not a ton back here because it's just a two-player game. Space Odyssey is the sister game of Space Mission, which is a four-player game. So there are 4 score reels, 1 for each player. 4 for each player. And then there is a dummy reel. We'll talk about that here in a little bit. There is a, let's see, what does this say? There is a 100,000 point relay for each player. So if you get up to 99,990 points, when you get your next 10 points, it makes a light up. That's how they did it. There is a change relay or something like that that bounces back and forth between the left and the right player, the first and the second player. I don't think that is the change relay. It's called something else. And then there is a 10-point relay, a 100-point relay, and a 1,000-point relay, and then a score reset relay. There is a coin unit, or the credit unit, and there is a match unit up here. But I believe this is probably the ball count unit. So let's see if this sucker's stuck like our bonus unit was, because we never get past ball 1. Let's see if I pull this in, if it does anything. So that one don't do nothing. And this one is jammed up. Well, that would be our problem. So it's not doing a freaking thing. Now, why does it do that? It's because it gets all gummed up. So a lot of times people spray WD-40 on them. Yeah, see how I was able to force that? A lot of times people spray WD-40 on them, which just causes lots of problems. So when this pulls in down here, that lever shouldn't come out like that. It should pull in, if I can even get it to do it. There we go. It should pull in so that when it pushes back up, it pushes the spider forward one. But this is just all gummed up and screwed up. It's just like that bonus unit we were messing with in the previous video. So I'm going to start taking it apart. We'll clean it up and get that to move freely. And that will probably get the game where it's actually playing through the balls and going in the game over, instead of just playing ball number 1 over and over again. So let me clean on that a little bit, and we'll see what we run into. Okay, so I oiled the crap out of it. I took the sprocket off and oiled the crap out of the pivot, the pivot, and now I've got it where it's all moving very freely, right? Oiled, this is metal, so I oiled where that goes through the bushing, and so now I've got it where with nothing on it now, you don't have the spider on it, it steps up, and then resets. So everything seems cool. Now, if you want to see more detailed on that, on our previous video, we went into one exactly like it and just did the whole thing. It's really, they're the same on every machine, but that's what we're doing. And then we're going to put some dielectric grease on it. A little bit of synthetic grease, just to help the spider move around. We want this little sucker to glide smoothly on there, right? So we use this brand. You can buy that at the store. I think they probably have it at like most hardware stores, but we also have it on our website. So if you want to get the exact same stuff we use, you can go to our website, lionsarcade.com. We have a parts page with a bunch of links to stuff like this that we use in our repairs. And those links take you to Amazon. And if you buy anything on Amazon after you click one of those links, it attributes it to us and we get a tip. So thank you to everybody that's been doing that. So I'm going to put a little bit of that on there, put the spider back on, and then we'll see if it does what it's supposed to do. Now I cleaned the traces there with just a little bit of light sandpaper. You don't want to go crazy, people. You don't want to get rid of all of your copper. Come on now. Okay, let's put it back together. All right, let's see here. Now on these, it works a little bit different than some of the other ones because it's only a 2-player. So if you look, we're on first player ball 1. Watch this arm here. So on the 4 players, the way it usually works is it will. I don't know that for sure on a Williams, but it will move up 1 player, 2 player, 3 player, 4 player, and then reset back to first player because there's a player unit. Well, this is just like the ball count unit. Okay, so you're on ball 1 of the first player. So that would be ball 1 of the second player. See how it's on the other trace now. And then back to player 1. Player 2, player 1, player 2, player 1, player 2, player 1, player 2. So that may be just the one that changes the light back and forth. That says if player 1's up or player 2's up, right? And so they've got several areas where it does that, where it just bounces back and forth. Okay, and then this, it actually says player relay on the side. This one is, player 1, player 2, player 1, player 2, player 1, player 2, player 1, player 2. So it's just switching back and forth. So if that's open, like it is now, then the switches are connected, I suppose, I'm just guessing, to the reels, so that the reels are connected to the point relays. Okay. If it were to pull in, those point relays still have the switches on them, but they're not connected anymore because those are pulled in. So those are no longer touching. So now these are touching. So the relays go into here, and then through there to these scores. Player 1, player 2, player 1, player 2. And you can bounce it back and forth. So one of these could be doing that, if you think about it. When it's on this trace, it's not providing power to here. When it's on this trace, it's providing power to here. So it's interesting. I can't, I'm just trying to eyeball it to see if there was an area that's obviously doing that, but I can't tell by the wiring. But it's just interesting the way they thought up to make those work. Now the relays here, I went ahead and went through and just cleaned the switches. So basically you're trying to get it so that they're touching one way and then touching the other way when it pulls in. Or they're off and on, or on and off. We've done that a million times on different games, so you're probably tired of seeing that unless this is your first video. And if it is, thank you for watching our videos, but go back and watch some of our old ones where we get more into it. Okay, the coin unit isn't even working. They're not even using it. It's on 0, and it's because they've got a switch rigged up on the coin door where whenever you hit a button, it adds a credit to it. So we'll see if that's allowing you to start a 2-player game, and if it is, we'll leave it as it is. There's something disconnected here too. There's a couple wires. Where were they? Right there. I don't even know what those are going to. But something has been disconnected. I don't see it here though. So I don't know what they took off. But they took off something. Okay. And then up here is the match unit. So this is used for the game over sequence where you win a free game if this matches. Now when this pulls in, it should move these things on the side, but it doesn't. If I force it to, it will. So same old thing. It's just all gummed up, right? So I'm going to carefully, I don't have my flashlight here. I'm going to carefully take that little spring connector right there off. If you squeeze that with a pair of pliers, it'll slide off the end. I'm going to carefully take that off so that I can clean both sides of the board. And then carefully put it back on. You have to put it back on exactly how you took it off though, or all your stuff doesn't work. Basically, the number 1 will light up, but it will match on number 8 or whatever. So I'll work through that a little bit. If I see anything interesting, I'll let you know. All right, folks, I did the same with that. Cleaned it up with some sandpaper, put a little dielectric grease on it, and there's really not much to it. Now, I didn't oil this in here because it's nylon. So since that's nylon, you don't want really oil on it. It doesn't need it. Okay, so by doing that, now you got to remember when you test these that the relay pulls in violently, right? It's instant. So if you just push it in slowly and then let go of it, well, this one did, but sometimes they won't always walk forward like they should. But that's just because you're not doing it the way the machine will do it. It will do it like this. Right? Okay, so we got that one. Ball count unit. All these relays. And that one. Now keep in mind, it was already a working game, right? So we are up to my favorite part. We got to clean up these score reels. Now, these things look filthy. This particular game, I think somebody came in here and sprayed WD-40 all over everything. I have a real problem with WD-40, people. It gums everything up. The stuff dries like glue. It's a god-awful product for lubrication. Now, to clean stuff, it works pretty good. It's just if you try to use it to grease something, bad idea. But it looks like somebody sprayed it all over the place. I see sticky-looking stuff on everything. Whew. All right, so let me pull out a score reel, and I'll start taking it apart and show you how that works, right? We'll start with this one right here. Don't it look very approachable? All right, folks, so we're pulling this one out. Now, this coil's a little overheated, but it's still working fine. You saw that it's scoring. Sometimes that'll happen because something locks on the playfield, like a 10-point thing, since this is a 10-point relay, or the bonus unit or something, and it will lock on and start charring that paper. But all that means is that it's been hot. It doesn't necessarily mean that it's burnt up, okay? So the first thing you do is take the little C-clip off, right? So the next thing we're going to do is I'm going to carefully, you can take these 3 screws off and take it apart that way, but I usually can pop it out in one piece by kind of finagling it around. So you can, if you turn it, there's like a little flat spot. I can't do it with one hand though, but I kind of move that out of the way, all right, and then move that back out of the way, and then I can pop it off with my other hand. So let me do that real quick. All right, so I popped it out, and you can see the 2 springs that are holding that all together. Now, you can take this all the way apart, dunk it in kerosene if you want, or something to clean it. Our buddies at the EM Pinball, the Goat Shed EM Pinball Repair Shed in Australia, the Goat Shed, they do a really good job of cleaning these up where they look miraculous. We don't get them that clean, but they do. So you can take all the little parts off, even take these screws out, get this board off, and clean everything up and polish it. And they usually use kerosene. But for our purposes here, we're just going to clean it up the best we can with a rag and some 409. And then I'll show you what to do on the board. But basically, you pull this out. And this is about as far as we disassemble it. Now you see this little, see how that thing is bent all to heck? That's because they've got the wrong one in there. Looks like they've got it where it's working though, so at some point they must have replaced that blade. I don't believe the other ones, let me look at another one here. I don't believe the other ones go up that high. We'll see. Whoop. There's another one. Maybe it does. So maybe it just needs straightened. Okay, well, we'll straighten it. And we need to clean this board up a little bit so that whenever the little horseshoe here, Williams love their little horseshoes, when that horseshoe goes around, it can make good contact, all of those. So I'm going to clean that up with sandpaper like we did the other stuff. So I'm going to clean on it a little bit, and I'll show you what's next. All right, so we cleaned up what we could. Got the traces all clean, put a little more of the synthetic super lube on it, dielectric grease, and cleaned the switches with the file while we were at it. And we're ready to put it back together now. Got to clean the wheel, pop it back on, and then we got to check to make sure that the switches are adjusted right. Apparently that blade was changed because there's an extra tab on the blade. And then they reused the original thing. Okay, so basically whenever, depending on what number this is at, these switches do different things. So whenever it's on 1 through 8, I'll show you. So it's on number 1 right now. These top two, which are the bottom two actually, because I got it upside down, the middle one and the bottom one are closed. And they will open at 0. So at 0, all 3 of them should be open. At 1 through 9, the top 2 are closed. So basically the reason for that is that whenever it's resetting those scores, that's how it can tell it's at 0. One of those opens up and stops this coil from moving. And then the other one, once they all open up, one on each relay, it stops the reset, the score reset. I mean the reset relay from being held on. And so when you get to 9 though, so we're at 8, when you get to 9, the cam pushes the bottom one closed as well. So the purpose of that is the next reel is wired to that. So the next time that this pulses, since that switch is closed, it also pulses that one, because it's going to have to turn this 9 to a 0, and it needs to add 1 on that reel, right? Turn that from a 0 to a 1. So you just have to make sure those are how they should be. So when you get to 9, all 3 are closed. When you get to 1, all 3 are open. I mean to 0, all 3 are open. When you get to 1, the top 2 are closed. Again, I'm holding it upside down. Okay, so easy peasy. There's also the end of stroke switch. When the stroke ends, it should open. Easy as that, people. All right, so I've actually already cleaned the other ones. That was my last one. All right, folks, so we're going to see if they reset. Now, this one is blank. We'll talk about that in a minute. This one says 0 because it's just a piece of paper. But all of the ones that are actually reels, 4 on each side, I've got set on something other than 0. Why did I do that, Joe?
So they'd reset.
So that they'd reset, people. We want to see if they're going to reset. None of this surprise stuff. So we want to see if when we hit start, do all of them little score reels reset. Here we go! Look at that. Look at that. It gave us our 1,000 bonus, right? And it kicked the ball out. Perfect. Perfect. All right, Joe. What do you think we need to do next? One thing I want to do is see if a 2-player game will start. Heck no. See, I knew they can't do it like that. They wired it up to the coin mech. It makes it where you can't start a 2-player game.
Hacks.
Oh, wait a minute. No, I was wrong.
Look, you gotta apologize.
I'm sorry. I apologize.
I wasn't talking bad about him at all.
I apologize to Brian. I know who rigged this up.
It's always Brian.
It's somebody. All right. So we got it where it's resetting and they're cleaned up. So next up, we need to work on those fake ones. So there's a couple ones here that don't ever move. So I'm going to pull the back glass off and I'll show you what they look like. So here's the dummy reel, as it's called. It's just to make it look like it has a longer score. Isn't that pathetic? There was a point in time when score inflation was real, people. Look at this. They just added a fake 0 to make the score look bigger than it actually is. Unbelievable. I'm glad that as a society we have matured and that doesn't work anymore. Okay, so I'm going to reprint those actually. They're just on a piece of paper. So I'm just going to print new ones. Now you might say, how could you possibly find a scan of those? Come on, people. You think they haven't scanned? Come on now. Joe, you know they've scanned those, right?
Hundreds of times, bro.
Hey, come on now, people. It's a Williams. If they're on it, you don't think they'd just make it for the one machine? Come on now. It's on all the Williams. It's on the Williams pinballs, Joe. There's a little fake. There's a dummy reel on all the Williams pinballs.
Yep. All you need is a 0.
And if it's a space mission, there'd be 4 of them. You think nobody scanned that yet, people? Come on now. All right, so we're going to print some out and stick them on there. And we're also going to swap all the light bulbs. Because this is pathetic. Look at it. What are they doing? Look, one's even missing. All right, we're finding it. Let me show you where we got it. Now, we had to do math. How much is it, Joe?
3.
3. 3 is the magic number. This is our buddy. Now, I've never talked to him or met him, but...
You don't know him.
Boy, I really like the guy. This is Incognito's pinball cards. This is where you want to go, people. Now, let me show you something. Mr. Incognito. Pinballrebel.com/pinball/cards. Pinball Rebel, I think, just hosts his site for him. I don't think Pinball Rebel is incognito, but he might be. How would we know? He's hidden and disguised. That's why his name's Incognito. Okay, he's got all kinds of cool scans, man. And so one of the things that he has is score reel numbers for 3-inch reels and 4-inch reels. Ours is a 3-inch reel. So here we go. Okay, folks, so we put it on there. Now, don't complain to me about the spacing. I may have to raise that one, actually. I didn't make the spacing. That's factory spacing, people. That one digit's just a little farther to the right than the other ones are. And we replaced all the light bulbs. How many were burnt out, Joe? It's like all the ones on the scores were, I know. And then some of the match ones were.
I don't know, maybe 15.
It's bad, but we replaced all of them. So it's looking pretty good. All right, so I'm going to move the one on the right up just a little bit, and then we'll put the back glass back on. All right, folks, so we put the glass back on. We cleaned the windows and everything looks pretty good. Now, the back glass is fairly deteriorated, which unfortunately we can't really do much about. You've probably seen videos in the past where I touched back glasses up and stuff, but this one is just so far gone. I've worked on these Space Odysseys and Space Mission back glasses before, and unfortunately, they just, all of their red completely fades away. So there is a lot of paint missing from this thing. The actual spacecrafts are just destroyed. I mean, look at that. So what I've done in the past is go in and paint each little piece back in, but then whenever you get done, whenever the light shines through it, you see every little speck that you painted back in, and it basically looks like it looks now. It's just a different color, so it doesn't really make it look all that much. Now, if you're missing a little bit, you can do that, and it kind of improves it. But whenever you've got just a huge area of the back glass like that, you're kind of chasing your tail. You could theoretically paint the whole back of it white, which would at least block out the lights shining through it. Would probably make it look a little bit better. See the light? You can see all the light bulbs. So we're going to advise the customer of that whenever he picks it up. It's one of those things where if it was mine, I'd probably just leave it and play it. Would you replace it, Joe?
Nope.
In your house?
I don't think so.
I mean, I'd probably just play it because the whole thing is a little worn. It's old, you know. It's from 1976.
It's only original once.
Yeah, it's only original once. So that one's pretty, you know, it's pretty deteriorated. But you can still read it. The scores still look the same, and it's kind of almost a conversation piece. Yeah, look how old this thing is. Look at the glass, right? Now the other option is you can buy a new back glass. It's going to be about $350. It's a little steep, but I mean it's not expensive for the back glass people. I mean it's a lot of work to make one. I'm just saying it's a lot of money if you want a brand new back glass. So you could buy a new glass for it, but I think I'd just leave it. Okay, so that's that. Now the next thing we need to mess with is the chimes a little bit. So I'm gonna pull out the chime box and we'll look at that. All right, folks, so we showed this in an earlier video, but this is the chime unit, and it, poor thing's in bad shape. Basically, the rubber grommets have completely disintegrated, and so we now just have metal on metal. That won't work. So whenever the chimes hit it, that's what they sound like. And all three of them are like that. So all we really need to do is clean it up, and then we need to isolate. Look, there's part of one of the grommets left. And we need to put a piece of rubber here to isolate all this metal from the actual chime bar. You want it suspended, but not actually touching any of the metal so that it can resonate, you know, and make it sound right. So let me take these off, and then we'll see what we've got underneath all that. Okay, so this is like a resonating box. You know, it's just a plastic tube so that the air moves around a little bit. So those rubber things are actually what's left of the rubber grommets. So there was like a cushion that the thing sits on top of so that it's suspended, right? And it's just foam. But it's very old now, so this would have been built in 1970. Well, wait a minute, which game are we working on? Yeah, 1975 or 1976. And that foam has just gotten old. So it's time for some new foam. That's all we really need, right? So I'm gonna clean this up a little bit, and then I'll show you what you can use in lieu of foam. That's pretty easy. Okay, so I cleaned it up a little bit. Now you can see that originally there was like a piece of plastic. This is like plastic tubing. It's kind of like the old aquarium tubing or something. It's just a little plastic tube. Now the purpose of that is so that there is rubber or plastic between the metal and this metal. You're just trying to get it where metal is not touching metal anywhere, right? So it's missing on these other ones though. You could even use a piece of electrical tape to do it, but what works pretty good for it is like heat shrink tubing. A lot of people have that around. Or if you've got an old tube from an aquarium or something like that, an aquarium pump, just anything like that. So I'm going to put some heat shrink tubing on these, and that'll be the first step. All right, so you can actually replace those little bumpers with pinball rings, which you probably got because you're working on a pinball machine. You can order them too, though, the exact little foam washer, but it's, you know, it's just a little piece of rubber or a piece of foam. And so I put one under the chime. We've got heat shrink tubing around the post. And then you can put one on top too if you've got enough room, but the problem is you don't want this to be real tight. See how it's all wobbly? You want it like that. If you look at like a xylophone, that's how they are. They're a little loose, maybe not that loose, but they're a little loose. If they're held real tight, it muffles the sound. And so you just get a doom. So you don't get any sustain out of it if it doesn't have the ability to move around. But if it can move around, you get it sounding like this. And it kind of rings, you know. And so you lose that metal slapping sound because it can't actually touch the metal anywhere. It's suspended in there, right? Okay, so I'm going to do that with the other two, and we'll see how she sounds. All right, well, she looks better. Let's see how she sounds. You can see this one's like the little thing. The plastic thing is pretty loose, but it's just so this metal plate doesn't hit that. You don't want metal hitting metal. That's all you got to do. All right, so there you go. I'm going to put it back in, and we'll play it a little bit and see if she sounds good. All right, so I've got it mounted back down in there. Kick the ball out. Did a little double thing. You know, we were working on the other video. Or was it this video? We did the little double reset thing, but I think it's all right. Chimes. I hear them. I think I heard all three. Very cool. It's chiming away. Keep in mind that, I don't think it's counting the bonus. Keep in mind that chimes are a very analog thing. They, you know, sometimes they're louder than other times. Sometimes you only hear one chime when you should hear four because it can't physically move 4 times immediately, you know. So, very cool. All right, so I think the machine still has some little play problems, so we'll have to do another video where we finally go through the schematics and fix every little thing. Like, I don't think it's counting down the bonus, and I'm not sure if it's going into game over, although it is up to ball 3 now. So the balls in play are working right. But we need to take our time and go through and try every little thing. So we'll have to do that on another video. So I hope you enjoyed it so far. Make sure to give us a thumbs up for taking the trouble to film it for you. We enjoy filming them, so we hope you enjoy watching them. And last but not least, don't forget to check out my brother's channel. My brother Donnie has a channel here on YouTube. The link is down below all of our videos, and we also subscribe to my brother Donnie on our home channel. You can go check it out. We work on pinball machines, arcade games, jukeboxes. My brother Donnie works on old vehicles, and we have a couple buildings in a small town near here that we're fixing up. So always something interesting going over there. I'm over there with him a lot of times. We go hang out on Sunday usually. So make sure to check out his channel, and we'll see you next time when hopefully we'll get all the little gameplay kinks worked out and play it a little bit. So this is William's Space Odyssey.